Moonshine Jesus, no light in the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our live recording of the Moonshine Jesus Show at Uptown Tavern in San Diego. Thank you all for being here in person, and thanks for those of you who are watching online as well. We are grateful for you, glad that you could join us to talk about Stranger Things, Season 5.
And Season 5 of the Moonshine Jesus Show.
And the kickoff to Season 5 of the Moonshine Jesus Show. That's right, Mark. It's like an anniversary.
It is.
Yeah.
It's special. I can tell. It feels special.
It does feel special. It feels special to be together. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't tell you how excited I am. We only get the chance to do this twice a year where we record the show while we're both sitting in the same room. And as much fun as we have on all of our other shows, it is so much better when we're all together and we get to do it live and in person.
Absolutely. It's so much fun to be together with you all.
With you all. Even better.
Yes, so
indeed.
much fun. The other time, of course, is at the Wild Goose, and we'll be there again this year.
Yes,
so
indeed.
if you can't be here in San Diego, hope you can be at the Wild Goose. Today, we are talking about Stranger Things Season 5, the second part of that season. And if you haven't seen it, just a word of warning, there will be spoilers because we don't know how to talk about it without spoiling
We also like spoilers.
We do.
I mean, you know.
It's fun.
People can't make us feel guilty. Oh, well, you didn't say spoiler. I don't care. I like spoilers.
That's right. We like to ruin it.
Well, that's
for
not
everyone.
fair. I don't like experiencing spoilers.
You just like to
I
do
just
it?
like giving spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course. We are brought to you by the Center for Progressive Christianity, leading the movement for progressive Christianity. We are also brought to you by the Christian Left, the nationwide ministry and community for Christian progressives and allies, and the Progressive Christian Alliance, a movement and denomination that rallies together around the principles of justice, respect, and inclusion. So today, Mark,
indeed.
we have drinks.
I had a drink.
You had a drink.
I may have liked it a little too much.
It's good. This is not only just a drink; it's your regular here.
It is. When we come here,
Yes.
This is what I'm going with. And I think I remembered the name of it wrong. I called it a Blackberry Smash, but I think it's called something slightly different. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
She knew what you were talking about.
It's delicious. It has bourbon and it has blackberries. I don't know how you're going to go wrong.
That's right. And it looked so good. It sounded so good when you described it. I decided to get one too. And what I really liked about it is it's very
it's got kind of the
Stranger
upside
Things.
down.
Yeah, it looks like the upside down here. We've got little particles of the blackberry
I like
floating
it.
around.
It works well.
So if you all want a blackberry smash or whatever it is called,
You should,
they're pretty good.
get in the spirit. Or
Get in the spirit.
Or the
Yes.
spirits.
The spirits. You should get in the spirits.
Sorry.
We should.
I got a lot of dad jokes. So.
We should lift our spirits
Here we
right
go.
now.
Lift our
Cheers
spirits.
to you,
Cheers.
Mark.
Lift your
Cheers
spirits.
to all
There
of
you
you. Yes, so glad that you're here. We're going to take a quick break, hear the theme song again, and then we'll come back to geek out a little bit.
Moonshine Jesus, no light in the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine?
They saved it for you.
A light.
All right, welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We are glad that you have joined us, particularly our live audience. We are so thankful that you are here. I'm going to assume that most of you who are here at least have some familiarity with Stranger Things, but we don't know who's going to be watching online. They may not know everything that's going on. So we're covering the finale today, but we're going to touch a little bit there's no way around not touching on a little bit of any other parts of the show. So let me give you a quick recap of the show and the final episode. Stranger Things is a story that starts with a missing kid in a small town, then slowly reveals itself as a meditation on friendship, trauma, and what it costs to grow up in a broken world. Across 5 seasons, the monsters get bigger, The real tension is always whether love, loyalty, and courage can hold when fear keeps escalating. And the finale brings that truth to sharp focus, not by erasing damage, but by asking who these kids have become after everything they have survived. It ends less like a big victory parade and more like a hard-won exhale, reminding us that some battles change the world and some simply change us. So, couple of broad questions just about the series in general.
Yes.
What was your favorite character from all 5 seasons?
Well, I think it changed over time.
Yeah?
But
All right.
Max. I really loved Max.
Yeah.
And she was not, of course, a part of the original cast.
Early, yeah.
Yeah, she came in season 2.
2, yep.
Yes, and really, over season 3, I thought she was a lot of fun to pair with Elle. That's the season where they were at the mall, and and she was like, they were out doing 80s summer things, and that was kind of fun. But really, in season 4, she was critical to that plot.
Absolutely.
Where they're combating Vecna, the big bad, and Max is trying to combat Vecna in her mind palace while also dealing with grief and figuring out how she was. I love Max. And then in season 5, this season, she's the one who's figured out how to navigate the mind palace that Vecna has her in. She kind of mentors Holly, the younger Wheeler kid, and Max. I love Max, but I'll say, I loved the new additions to this season. Delightful Derek.
Oh, delightful Derek. Come on.
And Holly.
Come on.
They were the stars of this season.
I don't know if you've seen the interviews with the actor that plays Delightful Derek. That kid's going to go places. He's has such a personality. He's so fun.
Yeah.
I love him so much. I do. I hear you.
How about you? Who's your favorite character?
Early on, and I kind of have 2.
Okay.
And part of it's the same thing where the second one was introduced later in the series. I instantly had this connection, identification with Dustin.
Yeah.
I love Dustin.
Dustin's so fun.
The way he sees the world, the way the world interacts with him. His kind of like, I'm going to
turn around. Look at what you see.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just love everything about him. I like his attitude. I like his approach. I like his jokiness. I like his positive attitude, even in the worst of times. Yeah. I like the way that he's willing to embrace his emotions and be real about them. I love him so much. But then, he remained throughout. I think that character, I love how they were written. I loved how he acted. It's just great. Erica.
Oh, Erica.
Oh my God, Erica. I mean, come on! What a personality! The snark, the intelligence, the like can-do attitude. Like, man, I love Erica. So it's close.
I'd rather learn about wormholes.
Yes, exactly.
She's great.
She's just absolutely fantastic. So for me, those were definitely the 2 that stood out the most. That I always, when they popped up on the screen, I'd feel myself smile. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah. We're getting some of their action here. Excellent. Let's do this.
Did you see the video? It was like the mashup between season 3 and season 4 of Erica, where she said she's talking to Murray in season 3, and she's like, "I'm 9, you bold bastard," and then it cuts immediately to "I'm 10, you long-haired freak" to Eddie in season 4. Like, she's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. If someone could. Yes, please. That would be lovely. Sorry for those online. I'm out of my drink, and it's just
that's a sin.
It's not a Moonshine Jesus show if we're not constantly.
Like a lot of the things that people say are sins. Those are not
really
sins, but like not having a drink,
an empty drink during the Moonshine Jesus show. Definitely. Okay, continuing with the character idea. Which character surprised you the most over the 5 seasons?
I actually think maybe Will.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, because Will, was really kind of a recurring character in the first season, even though the first season was centered around his disappearance, as you said earlier.
Absolutely.
That we saw a lot of change and growth in that character that I don't think I expected. I mean, we didn't really get to know him very much in the first season. In the second and third seasons, he's still, even though he's a regular cast member, kind of subsidiary, like he's
A little bit. Yeah, he's still part of the gang, but he really doesn't play a major role.
That's right. And I think about season 3 too, where he's like dressed as a wizard. He's trying to get everyone to play Dungeons and Dragons,
Right.
and they want to be at the mall. They want to be
Yeah.
doing the boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then over season 4, we find out that Will is coming to terms with his own sexuality
Yep.
and all of that. And then in this season, we see him grasp his onto this power that he didn't know he had.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I expected any of that. And for me, that was a bit of a journey, and I kind of liked going on that journey with him. How about for you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that journey as well. I'm going to say that Steve Harrington was he starts out like the guy that's going to bully your lunch money.
Yeah. And
he ends up like the makeshift dad of the whole group. And I love a redemptive story arc for a character. And I just really they kind of kept him mid-story. He was never a front person. He was never disappeared. But following that growth cycle and watching him move and recognizing the importance of folks rather than he was so standoffish with everyone. And so I'm the strong one and, I'll take nothing from nobody and all whatever. And then he becomes this person that realizes, no, this is about us. Yeah. And I feel this responsibility that I want to make sure that you're all good. I come on, it was beautiful.
Well, that makes sense too, since your favorite character is Dustin. So is your favorite team
sense.
Up, Dustin and
all
Steve.
All right, fair enough. That is fair.
Steve's the best, though. I love too. And I mean, we talked about it before, but how Steve wasn't even going to be a part. They were going to kill him off in the first season,
but
everyone
gone.
loved Joe Keery.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joe Keery, man, the fact that he dethroned Taylor Swift, for
pretty amazing.
number one. That's something.
Pretty amazing.
Something, yeah.
Nobody else gets to do that, right?
Nobody does.
What about the audience? Did y'all have any characters that were like they surprised you the most throughout the season? Any other ones? The ones we said. Okay, that's fair. I think that is very fair. Caleb. So across all the seasons of Stranger Things, what moment out of all 5 seasons still lives rent-free in your head?
The scene in season 4 where Max is in the cemetery to see Billy, her brother Billy, and as she's sitting there at his grave, reading the note she's written for him, that she ends up in Vecna's mind. And the moment that I actually think is the clearest moment of all Stranger Things is Max levitating, with Vecna on the verge of killing Max.
Sure.
And hovering above the grave there, and then Kate Bush, and Max running there. So that scene of everyone looking up at Max, and her levitating. For me, that's the scene for Stranger Things. How about for you?
I mean, I'm still emotionally caught up in the writing on the wall from the early season of the alphabet scene on the wall with the lights and Joyce. I mean, there's just something. That was the moment that it all started feeling like, oh my God, what? Like the mystery just became, wow. What's lights flicker in my house, and I'm looking at the walls for a sign that says, buy more waffles or something like that. I don't know.
Where's the Demogorgon?
Everything's going. So for me, that's the moment. I can't get past it. I will randomly think of those Christmas lights over the letters and stuff. So I absolutely love that one. Okay. Moving on to, not within the story, but outside the story. So the word on the street is that the Duffer Brothers are planning a spinoff. I got 2 questions about that. The first one is simply, what do you think the spinoff is going to be? There's lots of theories out there.
Yeah. Well, they've done the Tales from, what is it, 86 or something that's coming out, 85?
85.
Yeah, Tales of 85, where it's going to be Nancy and them. I don't know what it's going to be. I think what I want to see.
No. What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know. So I'm just going to tell you what I want.
Wait, no, that's the next question. Stop it. Gonna ruin my set here.
Of course I am.
You're trying.
That's my job.
You're doing your best.
That is exact. I think it'll be not quite what I want.
Yeah.
I think maybe it'll be something like that, like maybe Nancy and Nancy doing something like the Tales from 85 or whatever.
All right, so I got to admit,
Yeah.
I'm kind of geeked out about it a little bit.
Okay,
And I've done
yeah.
some deep diving and reading little things that the Duffer Brothers said and all this stuff. I think that what we're going to get, and I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. Honestly, thank you so much. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. But what I think is going to happen is that piece of the mind flayer that kind of sets all this off, the rock that glows and everything. I think that there are probably other pieces of the mind flayer. They've gone back and they've done the 50s, we've done the 80s. I don't think the 60s matter. I think what we're going to see is a completely different story in a different part of the United States from the 90s, because one of the things that made it work was the kitschiness of the 80s and how much younger generations are kind of like infatuated with the 80s. And if you watch like society's movement, there's a movement already from the infatuation of the 80s sliding into infatuation with the 90s. And so I think that they're planning on having the piece of the mind flayer show up, a piece, maybe not the same piece, show up somewhere else, and there'll be a whole new set of people who are drawn into the upside down in some way or the other in other parts of the world, and we'll have a whole new set of story and a whole new set of all of that. That's my guess.
I think I do remember reading something about that. And I guess my response to that is that, that kind of pulls on some of the weakest things from the season, I think, which is the diversifying of how we got the story.
Yeah.
And we talked about this when we did the first half of the season, that I thought it was a mistake to hold key pieces of the story in a play that most people were not going to be able to see. And so I think that actually was one of the weaker parts of the season too, is that like they didn't wrap up the story fully, because I think leaving the door open
I
for
think
this.
that all of that is intentional. I do think, and I'm not sure.
I think it's intentional too.
I think they're trying to create a world rather than a space. We got one town, one story. I mean, they went out to the West Coast, whatever. But I think that they are trying to do that, and I agree. At least for now, it creates weak spots in the storytelling. But I think in their heads, at least, they believe they're going to develop that. Okay, all right, now I'm going to give you your space. You can go where you were trying to go long before anyone asked you for it. What would you like the
new series to be? I will say that's just kind of how I am, Mark. No one ever wants the opinion I'm going to give them.
That's
it's just
fair.
what I give them,
Fair.
So for better and for worse.
I say that all the time.
Yes. What I want to see is a Stephen Robin spinoff. I mean, Dustin can make appearances, but I want Stephen Robin. I want them going on adventures. I don't care what they're doing. I don't even care if it has to do with the Upside Down. I just want more Stephen Robin time.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I want Steve as well, but I want a Dustin and Steve buddy sitcom.
Yeah.
I want it to be almost Seinfeld-like. I want to see the two of them in a car for 30 minutes just going off on each other and having fun and being mad and being sad and being emotional. I want that so bad. But there's another one that I want.
True.
But there's
because Erica.
Erica, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that because I have an Erica spinoff I desperately want. I want Erica, Kid Private Eye. I just think, how good would Erica as a private eye and being like, I'm just a kid, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes and does the really hard stuff and solves all the mysteries. I think that would be, I think you can make crazy viewership off of that.
Veronica Mars with Erica. You know what the funny thing is about that, Mark?
Yeah.
That, I think what we're talking about, all of those things are the things that were the strongest about Stranger Things, this whole series, right? It wasn't the upside down, it wasn't the mystery, it was the relationships, the dynamics, the personalities that really just drew you in. And I think that got stronger as the series went on.
Completely agree. Okay, final question for this for this segment. Is Elle still alive?
I choose to believe.
You're choosing to believe. So you're saying you're just trusting in what you want. You don't have a lot of
I think
data or information that makes you believe it to be the case.
I think for better or for worse, that's what they had us. That's the choice we were left with. Is what do you choose to believe about this? And and that part I actually didn't have any problem with in the finale. Like the the point of having to choose
Yeah.
how you tell your story. Like for me, that's okay.
Okay.
So I think it doesn't really matter one way or another.
Okay.
But sure, I'll choose to believe. How about you?
I think Will was mostly right in his kind of dream cast of where
Or
everyone's
Mike.
going to be. Mike, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he was mostly right in what he envisioned was going to happen. Except I don't think Callie's the one that cast the vision. So those sound weapons would keep Elle from doing her
thing,
stuff,
yeah.
right? But we see in the image her finger flickering. Like she is actively doing it. But we also see in that episode in particular her advancing all of the power she has. She's just powering up and powering up. She jumps higher, she drops farther, she does more. We know Erica can cast visions, images, and I think that she figured out right there at the last minute how to do it. I think she was somewhere else. She cast a vision of herself to give the others, because she knew that she couldn't stay with them because of the danger it would constantly bring them. And she cast a vision to make them believe that she was gone. And that she is out there somewhere. I don't think we'll ever find out. But I will say, I do like where it was left. I like it being up in the air. That's just my personal theory.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that they kind of left it ambiguous, and we all get. That's sort of what makes it like you kind of get to keep dreaming and thinking and being. I love that part.
Yeah,
So,
that part I like too.
absolutely.
I like too.
All right. That has been our Geek Out session. We're going to move on to our political, theological segment right after this next drop.
Moonshine Jesus, behind the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
All right.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We are entering our Theopolitico segment. That's where we talk about theology and politics. So Mark and I are geeks. We do like to geek out. We
Indeed.
do like to enjoy the shows, be able to talk about them. But ultimately, also theologians. We are interested in theology
Fair
and
enough,
politics of what happens. And so as we move into this, I've got a question.
Yep.
And this is something that we talked about extensively in the first half of
Good.
the season, and something that I think was on a lot of people's minds. And that was, will Henry Vecna be redeemed? And ultimately, we discovered that he is indeed, in fact, not redeemed.
No.
So, question for you. Did you want to see him redeemed when we got to that moment? And what does it say about human nature that he, in his words at least, chose to give in to the Mind Flayer?
Yes, like I said earlier, I love a good redemption story. Maybe it's why I'm a Christian. I love a good redemption story. I don't know if I needed him to be redeemed totally. There was part of me that really hoped for it, because when you go back to the beginning of everything, when he was basically an innocent child, that feels very unfair that the circumstances of the world threw him into a place where he made choices and followed paths that ended up having him cause other people great harm, hardening him to caring about whether he caused other people great harm, and ultimately to his death. So, yeah, I guess there's part of me that did want him to be redeemed, but within the storyteller's kind of vision, I think it makes sense that he wasn't. I think what it says about human nature is how easily we are drawn to power, and how much we're willing to sacrifice to access power, because ultimately he was not remorseful in any way whatsoever. He was actually almost, when he said he chose to join the Mind Flayer, there seemed to be this little twitch, this little almost gleeful, like silent, quiet gleefulness about, this was what I was doing. Of course it was. And that was all about, I knew the power I could get. I knew what I was going to be able to do and be above. And so I wish, yes, a little bit for the kid. I wish that he had had a redemption arc. for the storyline, it makes a lot of sense he didn't. And yeah, it really is about power, right? It's about being able to lord over other people.
Yes, I think at the beginning of the season, I wanted to see some kind of redemption, and or maybe expected to see some kind of redemption. And of course, we get to that critical moment, and he says, "Excuse me, exactly what you stated, that he chose to do this." And I do think that speaks to human nature. And to me, that felt very real to what we're experiencing in our country right now.
You don't say. Like,
what?
Wait a minute.
If somebody wants power?
Is it football weekend, and that's why?
Yes.
People want to win the game.
People want to win the
game.
There's
nothing else.
Not fascism.
Because everything else is cool, right?
Everything else is cool in our country right now.
I was getting worried there.
I mean, obviously, we've got leaders all around the world. We've got our own leader. We've got leaders in other places in the world where nationalism is on the rise,
Absolutely.
where we've got grabs for power. And so I think it does speak to the fact that I think right now we have a right to be somewhat cynical about human nature.
Agreed.
Because we are seeing that demonstrated.
And when you say cynical about human nature, though, isn't it in some ways being forced to be more real about human nature?
I guess maybe, man, it's just that I want to believe that human beings at our core are primarily good.
I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a much larger story and question going on here in terms of, is it human nature? Is it human nature within the society that humans have created? And I think that's what we're looking at, is that we really are just being more real about the society that we created, the systems that we've created, put people in positions where they are more likely to lean towards that part of humanity that seeks out power and seeks out dominance.
Oh, I thought as a Presbyterian you were going to say we were predestined.
Predestined,
that way. Well,
Yeah.
I understand. So, okay, Mark.
That's his go-to. Like, anytime that I make a point that's good, he's like, but predestination.
I like to make jokes about Mark being a Presbyterian
because it's great.
Because Mark is so he's about as Presbyterian as I am.
Right, that's about right. But we have great pension plan and health care. So
that's right. So, Mark, we see that at the end of season 4, kind of the upside down is broken into the real world, and we think everybody's going to kind of find out about what's really going on.
Right.
But what really happens is the military comes in, they cover things up, and they come up with a story.
Right.
And so I'm curious about that propaganda. How does that show up? And the narrative that the town ultimately believes is untrue. Is there space for misinformation or alternative narratives, or is that always a bad thing?
No, it's always a bad thing. That's not, I mean, the way that historically misinformation has been used is always a bad thing. It's always about manipulating the general populace in a way that they are going to believe things that allow the powerful to continue to marginalize and push people to the edges. So yeah, at least in the way that it's always been used, it's been horrible. Can I imagine a way that, quote, misinformation could be used to encourage people to make better choices and to care more about other people? I think it'd be possible. We just never seen it be done.
Yeah, I think you're right. The people who control the narrative are always the people who are in power, and it does always serve their own self-interest.
100%.
And I think it's true in this case as well, that had the town known what was going on, they would have been better able to prepare
100%.
for what was coming.
Yeah, we'd have seen less damage and less people hurt, and even going all the way to the kids who disappeared.
Yeah.
When Vecna came and started scooping up the 12 kids, I think if they had been more well-informed, the kids might have been better protected, right?
But, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten to see that transformational moment where Karen Wheeler goes from being a wine mom to a Demogorgon slayer,
yeah.
You know? And
I'm just glad she kept carrying the axe around, you know. There was, at some point...
And wearing her scars, you know, with pride. I love that. Yeah, wasn't that great?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we often look for, Mark, is a messianic figure in the story.
Okay.
Is there a Messiah figure in this one? Or is the point that salvation is communal?
That's the point, yeah. It's clearly there's not one. And as a matter of fact, I kind of like the way they set it up. We spent well over 4 years believing that Elle would be the messianic character. And they sold that hard. And it was so hard that it was such a surprise when all of a sudden powers start popping up elsewhere. Everyone else starts jumping in. So I think it is much more real, and I think it's more real for what society is like. Christianity does a really horrible job at casting that we should look for saviors, that we should look for the one person who fixes and saves everything. I mean, here we are, we're recording this on MLK weekend, and too frequently, it is looked at like the great savior, MLK. But the fact is, there was a whole organization. There were all kinds of people behind him. There were people who were inspiring, helping him think through it, figuring it out. Almost always in life, there isn't a figure that is the messianic person who redeems us and saves us from everything. It's almost always a group of people who, semi-like-minded people who wish better for the world, who gather together, make a plan, and go out and put it into action.
I think that's right. I think that's certainly the story that we hear in Stranger Things, and I loved that because I think, as I said earlier, I think the strength is the community that's built in Stranger Things. And I think this is better Christian theology.
100%.
That instead of looking to a single Savior whose death is salvific for all of us, if we look at the movement that was inspired by that, the way that confronted Rome, the way that inspires us to confront principalities and powers today, that the call to community work, I think, is a better call anyway. And so I actually,
100%,
I really loved that piece.
I agree.
About Stranger Things. So I'm curious, Mark.
Yeah.
In the finale, what does the victory end up costing? I mean, if the final episode requires a major boss, so if we're wrong about what we choose to believe, and Elle does make a sacrifice, what does that say about the price for peace? Does the show imply that the world can only be healed through violence, or is it through self-giving?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we'll pass it through. I'll take another two. Unfortunately, when you start talking about Hollywood, violence is always a part of redemption, which I think is one of the most harmful things that Hollywood does. Hollywood actually does a lot of great things, particularly when they're not even filming. Just the actors and the directors do a lot of great things in the world. But what they do tend to show that violence is one of the things that fixes problems. I have a massive problem with that. You know that because we talk about it all the time. Violence teaches us that violence fixes problems, which means we're just repeating violence over and over and over again. I think one of the things they lose is innocence, and I think that was important that they did that, and that sometimes that is what is required. And the innocence can be a lot of different things in real life. Sometimes it's naivete, which can be so I think part of what they're telling us is in order to be redeemed, to get to the point that it moves on, there's a lot of knowledge that you need to let go of and new stuff that you need to take in and understand the world might not have been what you thought it should be, and figure out how to move forward with it.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. You know, I want to ask one more question, Mark. We're about at the edge of our time here, but this is important for me. So, one of the things that happened in this season, in the second half, is before they go into the final battle for the Upside Down, Vecna has threatened Will with his sexuality.
Yes.
Right? He thinks that when people find out his sexual orientation, that they're going to all abandon him.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment where Will decides that instead of giving into that fear, that he is going to sit down with all of his friends and his chosen family here and come out. And there's a scene where he comes out, and it was fundamentalists, conservatives really hated on that. They went and they review bombed the season because of the scene where Will comes out. I'm curious, how do you think they handled Will's coming out? How do you think that tied into the overarching premise of the season? How'd that all work for you?
Okay, let me first say, I've never had to come out. Yeah. So I don't know all of the intricacies of what that feels like and why you do it and how it impacts you. I've had a kid who has had to. And so I have some clue of it. I'm going to be honest. I think they handled it wrong. He was forced into it. He did it in a room where half the people in there he barely knew. It just felt abusive in some ways to me. I'm glad that they showed him getting to the point that he was able to share that with his friends. I think that part's very, very important. I really don't appreciate the elements that went together in it and how they presented it. The fact that he was forced into it, that it wasn't really a choice, that he was also needing to do it in front of these people that he might have, some of them he'd only known very briefly. I struggled with it, frankly.
I liked it, you know.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah, I thought, and maybe because there was a meta piece going on there for me, that like even more important than what happened in the story.
Yeah.
I thought like showing someone coming out and being embraced, I thought was
Right.
a powerful piece, and I was thinking in reading, I was thinking about Noah Schnapp and
Yeah.
his own journey
Yeah.
to deal with the sexuality,
Yeah.
his own coming to terms with the sexuality. He said he probably would be closeted
Right, yeah.
were it not for Will Byers.
Sure.
And so I think about that, and I think about reading the perspectives of folks who came out, particularly people who came out in the 80s, and how empowering it was to watch the vulnerability.
Sure. Even that,
Yeah.
I think, was unrealistic. He shares, and the whole freaking crowd just embraces it. That's not real. One or two of the people are going to be mad. One or two of the people are going to walk away, not even speak to him. The fact that they didn't at least address that, look, he had to do it with people he didn't barely know. So have a couple of those folks kind of shoot each other a side eye. Like, let's be a little more real about it. I think it sets up false expectations, which I don't think is helpful. I think we need to be more real about it. That's what I mean. That whole scene to me, I had such mixed emotion while it was going on. Like, I wanted them to be doing and putting this forward and showing a person being able to express fully who they are. Mm-hmm. I wish it had been not forced. I wish it had been that they were choosing who they were doing it with a little more clearly. And I wish we'd have seen the realities. Every now and then, frequently, there's some of the folks who aren't going to get it yet. They're going to need more time in their life and more journey in their life before they can ever be okay with it. And so I love that a show was willing to address it. I'm not sure that, at this point, I'm not sure the Duffer Brothers were the ones who should have been doing it.
Fair enough. Okay, I've got a bunch more questions, but if I did that, we wouldn't get to our last segment, the Make Me Look Stupid segment. But here's the thing.
There's a twist.
There's a twist, right? Because usually Mark and I try to make each other look stupid, and typically what happens is he makes me look stupid.
I don't think that's true at all.
But today, we've got you all here in person, and so what we want to do is allow you all the opportunity to make us look stupid. Yeah, so we'll allow you to ask us questions. So think about it.
We're going to take a break.
We're going to take a break. Yep. And then,
you get all of about 30 seconds to come up with your question.
That's right.
To make us look stupid.
Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
All right, welcome back to our Make Me Look Stupid segment. As Caleb has said, normally we try to do that for each other. We're going to offer you the opportunity to try to ask a question that might stump us. We are going to ask you, though, for the recording and everything, to come forward and speak into, will you just pull this microphone off, and ask your question. So, are there those out there who have questions? Aha, good.
So far in every season, we've seen groups of the groups having different stories, right? So it's been like, oh, this one is a spy thriller, and this is like Dungeons and Dragons. Did you guys see that in this season? And how do you think they broke it up if it was there?
I think it was less evident this season. I don't know how you feel about Mark, but I feel like this is indicative of some of the problems that the last season faced. And I get that this season was tough. There was a ton of expectations about what they were going to do. Even though it's 5 seasons, it's been almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And so some of us, have really grown attached to this. And, we've waited years for these seasons to come together. So I think there's a lot of expectations. And we've kind of hinted at it, but we haven't really talked about it. And not to be critical about the last season, but I do think that writing was weaker this season than it has been at any other point in Stranger Things. And I think that was reflective of kind of the way they approached this. It felt kind of like fan service. And I guess as a big Stranger Things fan, that's not quite what I wanted. I wanted them to give us the narrative, not give us what they thought we wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And I think that made the season suffer a little bit. Yeah,
I agree. I think they strayed away from it because they were looking for spectacle this season. And that's part of what I think Caleb is also pointing to, is we lost a lot of the storylines from the other seasons that really made it more relatable. Like, it went from these very relatable stories in this crazy setting to, I don't know, big battle scenes, and it was all over the top. I think they slightly redeemed themselves. This was one of my favorite things of all of season 5, when the original crew's downstairs playing D&D, and they start putting their books up one by one, and I think a tear falls every time that book goes up there, and he walks up the stairs. He looks back for a second. It's the same door that was in Vecna's safe world, floating in the air. He walks through the door, he closes it, and then seconds later, a whole new generation comes storming down, surrounding the table, ready for their version of it. So I think there was somebody in the writer's room who got it, who look, we've been for a season, we ain't been doing our job. Let's at least give them this moment. And that, for me, that was so...
that moment was
every
great.
time I think about it, right now, I am literally tingling. It's just that good. It's such a perfect moment.
Well,
all right.
It's because you love a good redemption story,
Absolutely.
right? You wanted
That's
season
exactly
5
right.
to be redeemed.
No, that's very fair. That is so fair. That is so fair. I'm so sappy. It's really sad. Are there others who have a question that you know of that you'd like to try to make us look stupid? Anybody?
Or that you're just curious about, or
it could be a
prediction,
curiosity.
any of that stuff. I love to try to make Mark make predictions.
God, does he like me to make predictions?
I do.
The only redemptive part of that is that I've gotten, because you keep forcing me to do it, I think about it more than I might normally, during watching everything. I've gotten okay at it.
You've really gotten pretty good, and I always forget the second piece of that, which is that after I ask you to make a prediction, that I also have to make a prediction, and I have given zero thought to any of it.
And he's not joking. Sometimes he's given so little thought that he has to do that I give my very well-developed, here's what I think is going to happen. I go, well, Caleb, what do you think? And you can see this blank look on his face
what?
Oh, I forgot I was going to have to do this.
Yeah, I forgot. And then I come up with something extremely random. And that's always wrong, or occasionally right.
Occasionally. You have actually nailed some that when you said it, I went, Caleb, whatever, and it turned out to be perfectly on the money. We do have one. Perfect.
You two are just going off.
And we would.
I know.
Thanks for ending the...
I do have something, just an idea. When you were talking about the messianic figure, right? We all expected Elle to be that redemptive figure and saving everybody. And I love the idea of a collective salvation, because that is really what we saw. And so true. Can you elaborate on an idea that I held, just hearing Caleb say, I believe, and at the end we're I believe. I see that as such a parallel to Christianity, and Jesus' resurrection and death, and is Elle dead? Is Jesus really dead? Did Jesus really rise, from the tomb? And in this idea of some are choosing to believe, and then now we look at the fan groups and stuff, and some are like, no, she's actually dead. No, they're not. And that conversation, can you elaborate a little bit on that idea, maybe of like choosing whether or not we believe this hero? Because even though she wasn't the central redemptive character or the savior, it's somebody that we're super attached to and that we want to continue seeing as part of the group. But kind of like Jesus, it was like, I'm dead. It's up to you all to keep the story going. I don't know if you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Thank you.
Great
Marcella.
question. Really good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and thank you for drawing the point clearly, because I think that's exactly right. That in Christianity, what we do is we choose to believe. We choose to believe that somehow, in some way, the message of Jesus, the person of Jesus, remains with us. And I actually don't think it really matters exactly how we make sense of that. That I think different things are right for different people, and different people believe different things. And I think part of the big tent nature of progressive Christianity is that we want people to think about that in different ways. But I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, we choose to believe that Jesus' teachings continue to inform our lives and the way that we make sense of the world. And so I think in the same way that at the beginning I said I choose to believe that Elle is still around, that for my faith I choose to believe that what Jesus did continues to remain relevant for this world and certainly for my life. What do you think?
I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial. And then I'm going to move on and explain myself. Belief is dangerous. Belief isolated by itself is dangerous. Listen, MAGA believes they are right. They believe it. Belief is dangerous, y'all. Belief backed by facts, by experience, by trusting your emotions collectively, not one isolated, but together. That's what matters, and that's what moves us forward. Matter of fact, that is the formula for hope. So I think that it's important, because the data is humans don't die and come back to life. We call those zombies. And so we have data, we have information. If you want to believe there was something that happened there, I need to understand why, because otherwise that becomes dangerous. If it's not based on any facts, you can do anything with it you want. You can manipulate people with it in any way you want to do it. It's got to have some foundation that it stands on for your belief, and it might be enough facts that you can't make a full equation, like I know it equals this, but at least you got the data that says, this data seems to be pointing to, and the data isn't just facts, it's emotions, it's experience. These seem to be pointing to this reality. Therefore, I believe. I think that's the proper kind of belief we need to have.
Mark, don't you have a meme where it says it's heresy to call Jesus the first zombie? The first zombie
Was the child of, I can't remember her name right now, but there was a lady whose child was brought back from the death. That was the first zombie, yeah. So.
I love that. That's a great Halloween theme.
It's the only time I share it is at Halloween, but I have to do it every Halloween, so. All right, with that, I think we've gone well over our time today. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here. To the folks online, thank you for continuing to follow and support the Moonshine Jesus Show. This is our favorite thing. Like, we do a lot of things we love, but when we get to do this, it tweaks all of the things that make us happy. Our geekiness, our theology, our political involvement. So just thank you to everyone. It's the best in the world that you allow us to do this. And with that, thank you for helping us kick off Season 5 of the Moonshine Jesus Show. And we will see you. Woo!
Yes.
And with that, we'll see you the next time on the Moonshine Jesus Show.
Moonshine Jesus.